Greetings, YouTube! You have warped your way back into the WGS Arcade. We're back with more Boob Tenshi 2, and on the last episode, Kenji was catching up with his family, having breakfast, when he got a call from Tensei, and then he ran into Rose wearing the outfit that you see here, and let's just say, I wish there were some freaking animation on this, because they vividly describe Rose's boobs bouncing up and down in a very tiny t-shirt. That's all I'm going to say about that. But anyway, that was the last line in the last episode. Okay, sure. Nodding, Rose broke into a jog, but before she had taken more than a few steps, she paused and looked back at me. Kenji, it really is good to see you again. I mean that. I know, thanks. Rose gave me another quick smile before again breaking into a run, leaving me alone to make my way towards the entrance to the lab. I pressed the call button, and a few moments passed before a familiar voice sounded. State your business! It's me, Kenji. Ah, good. We've been waiting for you. Come down to the lab. I have someone here I'd like for you to meet. A moment later, the elevator dinged and the shutter door slid open. I headed inside, pressing the button for the lowest floor. After several seconds, the elevator dinged again, and the door slid open, revealing Tensei standing there, along with someone else. Hello, Kenji. It's been a while. Hello, Grandpa. Allow me to introduce you to our new commander and operations manager. Kenji, meet Tessa, a good friend of mine. Tessa, this is my grandson, Kenji. A pleasure to meet you, Kenji. K-E-N-J-I. Well, she was a former cheerleader, so... Do we shake hands, or should I bow instead? Shaking hands is fine. With that, Tessa held out her hand, which I took in my own. And as she gave it a vigorous shaking, I examined the newest member of our team. Cute. That was the very first thing I thought as I looked Tessa over. She was without a doubt as cute as a button. She had large blue eyes brimming with energy and pink hair that was done up in pigtails. She also had an ample chest and long, shapely legs that seemed to stretch out forever. And at that moment, she was grinning infectiously as she released my hand from an energetic shaking. I'm sorry, I'm staring. So, she's going to be the new commander? That's right. Tess has been helping with the Time Window project for quite some time now. Well, I didn't know about the Time Window at the time. Tensei kept that part to himself. I had Tessa overseeing another facility that I had managed to secure, which handles essentials like our raw materials, shipping and handling of critical supplies, and so on. Basically, she's been making certain that her operations and the things needed to keep it going remain under the radar of the government. I see. So, Tessa, when did you find out that Tensei had built an honest-to-goodness time machine? Not until he called me up last week to let me know that he needed my help. And to be honest, when I found out what you've all been doing and what happened and the rest of it, I thought I'd have a mega brain meltdown. I know how you feel. I remember feeling the same way when I found out about it myself. So, if you didn't know about the Time Window at first, I hope you weren't too mad when you found out that Grandpa had been keeping you in the dark. Well, I had always known that he was working on something really important that he wanted to make sure that nobody found out about it, so I wasn't too mad. Besides, if I had to be completely honest, if he told me he invented a time machine, I'd have wondered if old age was catching up with his brain. Not that I blame you for that. It is a difficult notion to grasp. So, if you don't mind me asking, why did you choose her for this? I mean, no offense, Tessa, but you'd still like to hear what makes me qualified for hooking up with Tensei's time, Tenshi. Huh? I found myself frowning my confusion at this. Time, Tenshi? That's what Tessa has taken to calling a little group of time travelers. I'm afraid that she spends more time reading comic books and manga than on her studies. Well, I figured that if we were a team, we needed a team name. We're all girls, and girl teams tend to have Angel or something like that worked into the name, and since you're Japanese...
And Tenshi is Japanese for angel. Yes, so you've explained.
And alliteration works really well with something like this. I mean, just sound it out. Time Tenshi. It rolls off the tongue really nicely, don't you think? At this point, I was feeling a bit worried. Tess seemed to be as energetic and enthusiastic as Kyo, and she seemed to be treating this like it was some kind of a game. And man, doing her voice hurt my throat. I found myself wondering if she was grounded enough in reality to handle the kind of responsibility that Michelle's job demanded. As I take a sip of water. When Tensei looked at me, he raised an eyebrow, almost like he could tell what I was thinking at this point.
And to answer your question, Kenji, Tessa's qualifications are that she has good skills in physics and machinery. Perhaps not as good as the other girls, as she's still pursuing a college degree, but she's still quite knowledgeable in terms of computers. And she gave me a blowjob before you came here. She's also a highly skilled martial artist with excellent gymnastics talent. And perhaps most importantly, she's proven that she's capable of keeping a secret, as well as respecting the rules I've laid out for her.
That's right. Fact is, I'm looking forward to a chance to breaking out my black belt and kicking some future butt.
Given our situation with Mizuki and Bunny, I've decided that perhaps, as I take a drink of water, that perhaps now would be a good time to add some extra brawn to a team of brains.
I guess I can't argue with that. Well, it's nice to meet you, Tessa. I'm looking forward to learning more about you. Since you're Tensei's grandson, I'm sure we'll get along. Although, would you mind doing me a big favor? Well, okay, I guess. What kind of favor? Tessa put her hands together in a pleading manner. Could you please be sure not to call me cute? Well, she is cute. Out of all the favors I could have imagined Tessa asking me, I had to admit this one didn't even come close to being among them. Seriously, I hate being called cute. Hate it with a passion. I've had people calling me cute all my life, and I'd really appreciate it if I didn't have Tensei's grandson doing that as well. I've already had to put up with it from the girls he's got running around here.
I'd recommend you oblige her on this, Kenji.
Well, alright. Though you are, well, attractive, if the word cute does slip out, just remind me, okay? I swear I wouldn't mean it in a bad way. Okay, I can work with that, especially since you're Tensei's grandson and all. I guess I could let you off without breaking anything. Thanks? I got the feeling that things were going to be more interesting from there on out.
Now that the introductions are out of the way, why don't we go to the time window room? I'd like to show you some of the modifications we've made there, and brief you on some changes I've decided to implement.
I got a bad feeling when I heard this, but I couldn't put it down to do anything other than my nerves acting up after all that had happened. So I just nodded and walked behind Tensei and Tessa as they started towards the time window room. When the door opened to reveal the interior, I saw that the lab had undergone some very noticeable changes. But as I tried to take on all the differences, I was startled when a familiar voice piped up for my attention. Kenji! I had about a second to process that Kyo had been sitting near the time window with a video game controller in hand before she tossed it aside and launched herself from her seat. I had another second to realize that she was currently flinging herself at me. If I had one more second, I might have braced myself for her tackle. Hug. Why can't I have that problem? Unfortunately, I only had those 2 seconds, and so I went crashing down to the floor. Yee, that is a nice view. Oof. Boner alert. Boner alert. Boner alert. Level 1. Boner alert. My head crashed into the floor, and while I was seeing stars, Kyo was giggling in delight, hugging me tightly as she massaged my cheek with hers.
Hey, oh, I missed you, Kenji. I'm so glad to have you back and everything, and it's been so crazy, and...
Kyo?
Looking up at the mention of her name, Kyo pushed herself up onto her hands and knees. Okay, they went deeper into the boobage area. As she looked at my grandfather, I was given a perfect view of her bouncing boobs. Now, I also noticed that she was now basically straddling me over a certain area. Again, boner alert, boner alert.
I would appreciate it if you got off my grandson. We do have a great deal of work that still needs to be done today.
Assuming that you didn't bust his skull wide open when you tackled him to the floor, you ditz. That seemed to spark Kyo's attention. Her eyes and mouth popped open as she looked down at me again. Then sudden alarm registered on her face as she scrambled off of me.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kenji. I didn't mean... I was just so glad to. I didn't break anything, did I?
Just my dignity, but I'm used to taking hits by now. Here, let me help you before Dingaling there mutilates you some more.
Hey, you don't need to put it like that.
Why not? It's just so true. Kyo huffed angrily as it was quickly becoming clear exactly how Tessa had been able to make a bad impression on the girls here if this was the attitude she constantly had on display. Besides Kyo, while you were busy tackling Kenji, guess who just lost for the very first time in Revenge of the Revenger?
What? You mean you didn't pause it? Michelle!
As Kyo darted towards the time window, I was given time to recover and take in the changes that had been made to my surroundings while I had been away. Before, there had been a messy, tangled network of tubes and wires and cables that had connected the time window to all of the various devices in the lab. Those were all gone now, and there were several welds around the base of the time window, while a secondary ring had been built around the main platform, making me think that the wires had been concealed underneath it. Excuse me. A couple of monitors and control panels had been built close to the time window, and one of them looked like something like a display at a hospital, monitoring someone's vital signs. In fact, Kyo had hooked up the video game system into one of those monitors. The game screen was showing on one of them. But the change that really grabbed my attention was the large plastic cylinder surrounding the time window's main platform, completely blocking it off to the rest of the world. Pardon me. Again, doing voices hurts the throat. What is all this?
A long overdue upgrade in terms of safety and security, Kenji. We've gone to a great deal of trouble to make certain what happened to you and Michelle never happens to anyone ever again.
It's a plexiglass shield, Kenji. Gramps and the others set it up so we can raise it up whenever we decide to use the time window. If we had something like this in the place before, I might not be where I am now, wherever that is. It's plexiglass, Ken. I can call you Ken, can't I? Anyway, I found it on sale after some big aquarium got shut down, and it had several spares, all at a huge discount. And we keep it lowered whenever the time window's not actually being used. So the next time Tensei's brainchild decides to fire itself up so it can snack on somebody else, it'll just have to go hungry. I frowned a bit as I looked down at between Michelle and Tessa. Michelle just told me about it being plexiglass and, you know. Oh, she did? Did you mention that I'm the one who found all this hardware? Now, I was getting even more confused.
Tessa can't see or hear Michelle, Kenji. Since she's never traveled through time, she's never absorbed any of the quantum energies that flow through the time stream. And since what you see of Michelle's essentially a quantum energy construct being projected by the time window...
Okay, but if that's the case, then How can you see and hear her? You've never been through the time window either.
That's a good question, Kenji. I wondered about on and off myself.
How do you wonder about on and off yourself? I don't get that. But what we're going to do right now, guys and gals, we're going to go ahead and call in an episode, and when we come back to the arcade, we are going to continue to see what we can do to help Michelle. So with that being said, I am your friendly neighborhood WrestleGamer, and I will see you at the next warp zone. Bye, guys!
They are getting opportunities.
Eric Young's will be...
Yeah, he's officially signed with TNA. Not TNA, NXT.
Hasn't Ryback signed with TNA?
Well, where are you, Sam?